river. Look at those beauties. And in this video, we're going to look at meat, how to fish it on the river, and how to get the most out of it. So we're out on the river, and this summer has been pretty tricky so far. There hasn't been much rain. The water in the river is running very, very low, very, very clear, and that has made things quite tricky. So what I've actually been doing is trying to fish in such a way that my rigs and my tackle are as inconspicuous as possible in this very clear water, and let's have a quick look at that now. I'm using my 12-foot all-rounder rod. Onto that, I've got a 10-pound reel line. What I'm wanting to do is put a length of smoke screen or smoke shield, about 4 foot of that. Get these glasses out of the way. I'm attaching that to my main line with a double grinner knot. Then onto that, a little stopper. Eyes are getting so old. Absolutely tragic. There we go, that's one of those on the leader. Size 8 specimen hook. Always like to use these straight point hooks when I'm fishing with rigs that have got a very low resistance. Sorry to jump so into rigs and technical stuff so quickly in the video, but I think it's so important this with these conditions. And that's it. That's the rig. Revolutionary, I know. I told you I was trying to strip it back to absolutely nothing, but I'll explain. What I've been doing is, like I say, stripping right back on tackle, free lining. So this I will use for free lining meat. I can just literally put a bit of meat on that hook and I'm just rolling meat under bushes. So coming back to that stopper, and the reason that I got that stopper on the leader just like a few inches up from the hook is because of this stuff. I've been playing around with tungsten, just pinching bits of that on and around that stopper. Instead of using split shot. I don't want to weaken this leader. 10 pound is as minimum as I want to go in these sort of like constrained areas. And so yeah, I just think tungsten is a really great material to play around with, just pinching little bits on and off the stopper so that you can affect, you know, when you're moving from swim to swim, depending on the depth of the water, you want the meat to drop in the water at a certain rate, and adding and taking away little bits of tungsten has been a really good way of doing that. Something else that I like about this tiny little rig is being able to switch between meat and pellet quite quickly. I was looking for a rig that I could do that really quick. If I want to fish pellet, I can just very quickly put a pellet band on that hook. There it is. And then all I need to do is put a pellet in that pellet band, and there we go. Just like that, I'm now fishing pellet. So, like I say, it allows me a really simple rig like this, minimum amount of tackle in the clear water, and it allows me to very quickly switch between meat and pellet. What it does mean that I'm fishing a slightly smaller hook that I'm comfortable with meat, but then that does give me the right sort of like presentation, the right size hook when I switch to pellet. You might ask, why would I want to switch from meat to pellet? In this clear water, and I've seen it time and time again, that these barbel do sometimes spook off the meat. I've seen it. It's like they've been caught on it a little bit too much. When that does happen, feeding pellet, fishing a little pellet on a pellet band, that can sometimes make them slip up. So yeah, sorry to get into the rigs and everything so early in the video, but I do think it's made a massive difference. The ability to go between meat and pellet and be able to take on and off little bits of tungsten has given me a really flexible little rig that's very inconspicuous in this clear water. And that's actually been working well, and it's been catching me some nice barbel so far this summer, and we're going to see if it carries on working today. When it comes to cubing up meat, that's got a lot more straightforward these days too. That's thanks to these. These are called meat cubers. This is the large, they come in 2 different sizes. So let's cube up some meat. It's really very clever. All we have to do is take it apart. You've got a side section, you've got a top section. And what we do, take our big lump of meat, we place it inside the meat cuber there. What we're going to do first is put in the top section and we'll press that down firmly. There we go. And then all we've got to do is take this side section, push that in the side like so, and pull it all out. If I push them through this way, won't pull them all out because they'll fall all over the floor. But you can see there now I've got perfectly cubed meat without any faff. You know, there's no trying to, I used to chop it up using the lid, nearly taking my fingers off in the process. There you go, meat preparation made easy. So this is a good example. In this swim, it is incredibly shallow, but it is holding a couple of fish. And I saw the barbel just sort of spooking off the meat. So I've switched to pellet. I'm just putting a bit of tungsten over that stopper. And it's a much more subtle presentation than the meat. There we go. The key with this is to sit way back. Don't be tempted to keep peering into the water. So I'm going in with a free line meat, just rolling meat under this canopy behind me. But I have one cast with the meat, just free lining, and the flow's, there's a bit of flow and it's not sinking as quick as I want. So there we go. Just put a little bit of tungsten on there, on that stopper. And that's the reason that I have it there. So I can just add a little bit of tungsten and that's now going to make it full, obviously sink a bit quicker. God, to wait for that. Oh, it's one of the babies as well. Oh God. Absolutely wrapped round the tip there. Some decent fish been in this swim. Unfortunately I've got one of the smaller ones, but it's a fish nevertheless. Still have to watch these smaller ones. I'm only on £10 line and they do go like rockets. Meat, fish just under the far bank. Could come right to my feet. Meat fished under the far bank. Sun's just coming out and we got a barbel. You can't always beat the big ones, but that's okay. Let's see if we can get it in the net. Come on, come on, come on. So we've got one on the meat. There we go, a bit of meat fished up against the far bank features. Probably the smallest fish that I've seen in the swim this morning, because I've seen a few. But never mind, we're out here and we're getting bites. So the meat, sometimes I find they do spook off of it. And when they do, I've got a rig that I can switch to pellet very quickly. And yeah, they got kg on the meat and a bit of pellet. Tripped up this one. be honest, I think a shorter rod would be better in this scenario. Definitely kind of struggling with this 12-foot rod in all these little holes. So another tiny little swim. You look, they're like little rat holes, these swims. Just sort of like poke into them. And yeah, I'm going to roll a little bit of meat down and just see if there's anything around. No, nothing on that one. What I'm going to do is have a quick chuck upstream. Casting upstream can work. I tend to cast downstream, but if you cast just upstream and just let the flow sort of like just bump it down, giving it a little half turn of the reel. Definitely get most bites just sending the bait downstream though, to be fair. Nothing in that one, move to the next. Visiting quite a lot of swims and I can see, because of the clear shallow water, I can see that the fish aren't there. They might be underneath the canopies, but the canopies at the moment aren't even that low to the water. So I have run some meat underneath those with nothing. Fortunately, I've come to a swim now where I can see a few fish. And yeah, there's no point in fishing somewhere where there aren't fish, and they're definitely here. Been chasing these chub for a while. Here he comes. There we go. So there we are, nice chunky chub, just taking on the meat. Really nice simple way to fish, and yes, catching a few fish. Oh, let's slip this one back. I don't know if you noticed there, but I've gone to a stronger rod. That's because I've come into this area where it really is very confined, and those light lines, I'd be very worried about losing a fish. So a stiffer rod, 2-pound test curve rod, 12-pound barbel reel line, and I've gone to fishing a more conventional lead clip with a tiny little lead, a stronger rig, and again I am still able to switch between the meat and the pellet on the hair. I think in these really confined swims, especially when the water's this low, the fish are very powerful, and I think you've got to know when to step up your tackle. So they are hugging this canopy, so they're hugging this canopy really tight. Let's just see if we can flick this meat underneath. Yep, that will do. Sit back. See if we can get one. Got quite a nice chub here, I think. Shame we did have a barbel on the spot, but a chub has got to it first. It's kindly gone upstream, so we should be able to just let the flow bring him down and into the net. There we go. Net. Yeah, he's quite a nice one. There we go. Smashing. So there are barbel on the spot. I've seen them, but the chub keep getting there first. Not uncomplaining. Fantastic sport. Now when it comes to rigs and you're fishing sort of like a lead clip or a bolt and run clip, The rig itself has been made easy too. You could use these 15-inch rigs, which is okay on a small river. On the bigger rivers, obviously, you might use longer hook lengths, but actually 15-inch hook lengths on a small river like this, when you're trying to get it under canopies, works quite well. So you could just pick up a ready-made rig, a hair rig like this. This one's got a size 8 hook, 14-pound line, so a nice strong rig. Like I say, that is quite a short rig. Obviously, if you wanted a longer rig, you could make one up. It's just a standard hair rig. Then to fish a cube of meat like that, on a rig like this, I would use a meat stop. These are so much better than the traditional sort of like boilie stops that would cut through the meat. So let's put one of those on. What you need out the kit is the tube and the little stopper. What we're going to do is press that tube through the meat like so. Then we're going to trim it off using the scissors like so. What we've got now is a hard plastic core, the tube going through the meat, that's going to stop the hair cutting through the meat itself. And we can now thread that meat, put the hair through the tube, then we just hook that little stopper there onto the meat, and there it is. Look, perfect, absolutely perfect. So now you've got that plastic core that's going through the meat, like I say, stopping the hair cutting through it, and you've got a really nice big stopper that's also not going to cut through the meat. Perfect presentation, and that's going to make that meat stay on the hair for a lot longer than the traditional way of using sort of boilie stops and stuff like that. Another popular option for you guys that like to use quick stops is the meat quick stopper kit. That comes with some quick stops. You can tie up some rigs that have got a quick stop on. And then what we do is we take the plastic component that's in the kit, we push that through our section of meat like so. And then using the needle provided, put the quick stop on the needle like so. Push that up through the tube, out through the top. Then you can twist your quick stop into place and pull it shut. So there we are, that's even more straightforward. We've now got a quick stop in the end of the recess in the stopper there, and a really nice presentation for those that like to use quick stops. Look, kingfishers there just going through the swim, stunning. We've got one of the greedy little chub. Given the conditions, I think we'll probably just slip this one straight back. There we go. And there we are, that's another chub. I had a few of these now, so I think the best thing to do is slip this one straight back. Go on. So very pleased, yeah, starting to get a few fish now, particularly lots of chub. They're very active. Yeah, hopefully we'll get through them and get to another barbel. Oh yes, we've got what we're after. Oh, I had to be a bit patient there. But this is the barbel we wanted. Had to be a bit patient there. A lot of chub in the swim. And yes, we have got a rather fat looking barbel. Very chunky. Here he comes. There he comes, there he comes, here he comes. And he's in. Yes, fantastic. One thing we've got to make sure that we do, especially in these warm conditions, is make sure that these barbel rest plenty in the net. There we are. There's quite an odd looking barbel. Very stocky. I think I'm going to get him straight back because I don't know if he looks too good. Yep, we've got another one. It's another baby. Some nice chub down there. Doing quite well to avoid them, to be honest. Come on, in you come. Just put a tiny little lead on. And we've got another little chub. Lovely. And another one. A slim one this time. Absolutely cracking, simple tactics. Catching plenty of fish. So that is me done. The chub were very active today, weren't they? Did manage plenty of those. And some barbel, so all good. Like I said at the start of the video, switched between meat and pellet on little versatile rigs. Seem to have done me quite well so far this season. Seems to have worked particularly well on these little rivers, even though that they've not got much water in, they're very clear. So yeah, it's certainly a tactic that I'll carry on experimenting with as I go through the rest of the summer.